Hi, I'm Elizabeth and welcome to my hormone series. In this series, we're going to look at what hormones are in your body, what are they doing, what should they be doing, and how do you convince them to do what they should be doing. This series is meant for informational purposes only. It is not meant for medical diagnosis. So if you have a question about hormones, please go talk to your doctor about that. But I hope this is helpful for you. Let's dive in. Today we're going to talk about melatonin and insulin, two hormones that are incredibly important in your daily function that you probably don't ever think about at all. And I bet a lot of people, when they think about having maybe hormone challenges or your hormones are off, these are not the hormones that you're thinking of, but they are very important to make sure they're doing what they should be doing all the same. So melatonin, let's chat about that one first. Melatonin is the hormone of sleep. It is produced in the brain by a gland called the pineal gland. And it actually, what happens is that when there's light coming in your eyes, it blocks the production or the release of melatonin. Melatonin is released when that light starts to fade and it starts to get darker. Now, melatonin doesn't actually make you sleepy. There are other hormones that are responsible for that. Melatonin's job is more to kind of prime your body to go to sleep. It is an incredibly important part of the circadian cycle and an incredibly important part of sleep. But a lot of people think that if they can take a melatonin supplement, they'll feel sleepy or tired, and that's not quite how it works. Now, how melatonin is connected to all the other hormones is that high levels of estrogen can lower your melatonin. So if you've got symptoms of high estrogen, and I'm going to put a link here to the other video I talk about where I talk exclusively about estrogen, and xenoestrogens fall into this as well. If you've got high levels of estrogen, that means that it can lower your production of melatonin and it can absolutely interfere with your sleep. So how do you optimize your melatonin? All of the things that I always recommend for people all apply, and I'm going to summarize those at the end, but actually melatonin has some pretty specific ones. First of all, you want to make sure that you're getting light or sunlight on your eyes early in the day. It doesn't have to be at sunrise, it doesn't have to be immediately when you wake up, but when the sun is still low on the horizon, you want to go outside and get 15 to 20 minutes of sunlight on your face, on your eyes. That will help set the first part of your circadian rhythm. The next thing you want to make sure that you're going to do is watch your light at night. So as the sun goes down, as darkness starts to settle in, you want your house, you want your environment to be doing something similar. So you're going to want to be turning off overhead lights and turning on lamps, using light that is either lower, like less bright, or physically lower to the ground. So making sure that you're increasing your darkness. You don't want to be using blue blocker glasses during the day. It's actually really important to have your eyes stimulated with the blue light when it's daytime. But when you start to pivot more towards night, that's when either like using a blue blocker on your screen or blue blocking glasses, that's when that will come in handy. You want to avoid screens for 2 hours before bedtime, which we all know and we don't follow very well. I'm speaking for personal experience here, but you do want to avoid screens for a couple hours before bedtime if possible. And you want to eliminate screens in the bedroom. You actually want to keep your bedroom as dark as possible. The darker your bedroom, the better your melatonin production is going to be and the better your sleep is going to be. Another key thing about melatonin is actually tryptophan. So tryptophan is an amino acid that is necessary for the production of melatonin, making sure that you've got food in your diet that is high in tryptophan. So that's a lot of the meat products, meat, eggs, milk, cheese, chicken, that kind of things. There are vegetarian sources of tryptophan as well, sunflower seeds, peanuts, pumpkin seeds. Now, you don't have to go all out to just, eat a ton of cheese before bed to increase your tryptophan. It doesn't quite work like that, but making sure that your diet is balanced with lots of foods that contain lots of different amino acids and proteins, that's where you're going to get your tryptophan from. Now, what about supplementation? Because melatonin supplementation is one of the most common supplementation when it comes to sleep. I actually don't often recommend melatonin supplements for a couple of reasons. Number one is it's very rare that when people are struggling with sleep that melatonin is the only problem. Now, if you're one of the lucky ones and you're not producing enough melatonin and you can take a melatonin supplement and you're finally getting wonderful sleep and you're feeling amazing in the morning, then yes, maybe melatonin will work for you. For most people, there's a slew of reasons why sleep is a challenge. Melatonin is probably not the one. For some people, they might try melatonin supplements and they don't work at all. They just don't notice anything. Other people will try melatonin supplements and find that they're really groggy the next morning. When it comes to sleep, most people are looking for that quick fix, and melatonin is that quick fix a lot of people try, and generally speaking, it doesn't work. The other thing about melatonin supplements is that there's not a lot of standardization around them. So choosing a melatonin supplement that works for you, that if you can find one, great. But at the end of the day, melatonin is a hormone, and relying on melatonin, it's not addictive, but adding an extra hormone into your body every night to help you fall asleep, we don't really know what the long-term impacts of that are. So I'd much rather you be approaching your melatonin from a light versus dark perspective, or lifestyle, or all of the things that I am going to talk about in a minute here. That's a much better way to approach your melatonin and your sleep, and it's going to have a much better impact on your sleep and your quality of life. Okay, so on to insulin. Insulin's job is to take the blood sugar and put it away. Insulin is a hormone produced by the pancreas that basically delivers this sugar to all the different cells. Now, when insulin is off, things can really go awry. You might have heard insulin being connected to diabetes. So for someone who doesn't make any insulin at all, or their pancreas there's been an issue and their pancreas is no longer functioning like normal, that's what's called type 1 diabetes. People who have type 1 diabetes are on long-term medication regimens, constantly checking blood sugar levels. It's very individual, but insulin production for them is not possible, and that can mean life or death in type 1 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is a bit different. So in type 2 diabetes, what you might find is that there is too much sugar being produced for the amount of insulin. So there's still lots of insulin in the body. It just can't keep up with the amount of sugar. Or you might notice that you're getting what's called insulin resistance. So your body is still producing enough insulin, but your cells aren't listening to it. And those things are really connected to type 2 diabetes. Now, how does this fit into the whole hormone picture? Well, here's the thing. Insulin resistance is a really common symptom, side effect, we don't really know, that occurs in PCOS. PCOS, or polycystic ovarian syndrome, is a metabolic condition that is very complicated, and I'm not going to get too far into it today, but one of the features of it can be high insulin or insulin resistance. So how to normalize insulin? First of all, if you're a type 1 diabetic, you already know all of these things. You do not need to listen to me. You've got insulin figured out. But if you're someone who maybe you're experiencing PCOS, or maybe your blood sugar is getting a little bit on the high side, maybe your doctor's told you that, or maybe your HbA1c level, that's another measure for kind of how your blood sugar is doing over the long term, maybe that's a little bit on the higher side. How you want to start is you want to focus on a whole foods diet. Primarily lots of colorful vegetables on your plate, whole grains, healthy fats, great protein, eating from the rainbow, eating all of the whole foods. That's really where you want to start. You want to make sure that you are having protein with every meal and snack. Protein absolutely helps to kind of stabilize that blood sugar, and it's a really incredible tool to help do exactly that in pre-diabetes, type 2 diabetes, or a PCOS picture. You want to focus on foods that are what we consider low GI, or low glycemic index. So the glycemic index is a measure of how fast and high a specific food will spike your blood sugar. Table sugar, if you were to eat a spoonful of that, that's going really, really high, really, really quickly. On the other side, let's say you had a piece of chicken, that doesn't spike your blood sugar, because chicken has mostly protein, it has some fat, so it's going to cause no spike in blood sugar. You want to be eating foods, you don't have to eat exclusively chicken, but you want to be eating foods that are going to keep your blood sugar from spiking up. What that typically looks like tends to be whole grains, whole foods, foods often that we're preparing ourselves, and cutting back on the processed foods, the sweets, the treats, that kind of thing. Especially while you're just getting your system regulated, that's really key. You want to increase your fiber in your diet. You are going to want to decrease your sugar intake potentially. Now, it's entirely possible, and happens a lot, where people who are eating immaculate diets, all whole foods, wonderful grains, all of that, and they still have issues with insulin and insulin resistance. My recommendations here are just general recommendations, and there are always going to be people who are exceptions to the rule. If this is you, I suggest that you talk to your healthcare provider to see what sort of other tools that you have available to you. So If you've already tried all of these things and your insulin isn't doing what it should be, or your blood sugar isn't doing what it should be, it might be time to go ask for help. You're going to want to increase your exercise, so making sure that you can get some movement in every day. Exercise is like a magic little pill when it comes to blood sugar. Your muscles, will take in blood sugar without insulin when you move. Daily exercise has an incredible effect on metabolism, on blood sugar, on stress, on everything. So making sure that you're fitting in that movement or exercise every day. You're gonna wanna watch those stress levels and kind of focus on a way to really manage stress for yourself. Cortisol, that lovely little stress hormone, that actually causes blood sugar to spike, which is actually then going to cause insulin to spike. So cortisol can drastically impact your blood sugar, impact your metabolism, and impact all sorts of things. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Stress is not going to go away. I wish it was. That would be amazing. The truth is that we need to teach our bodies proper, healthy, helpful ways to deal with stress. So I've got some resources on that I'll link here in the video. But making sure that you have a really solid stress management strategy that works for you, that's important. And one food that I love to talk about when it comes to managing blood sugar is actually cinnamon. Cinnamon is a wonderful food to help lower blood sugar. You can find cinnamon capsules, you can take it as a supplement. But just using cinnamon in your breakfasts and your meals and your snacks, sprinkle it on whatever you can find. Cinnamon is actually really helpful to regulate blood sugar. Now, my global recommendations for all hormones and optimizing everything on how you feel is always the same. So it's making sure your sleep is a priority, making sure you're moving on a regular basis, making sure that you're eating a primarily whole foods diet with lots of colorful veggies, healthy fats, whole grains, good protein, making sure that you've got a stress management strategy, making sure that you've got really great fiber in your diet, and making sure that you're focused on water intake. All of those things, it doesn't matter what your symptoms are. If you can optimize even one of those things, you will feel better. And if sleep is a challenge for you, I'm going to put a link in the video description to head on over and check out my free workshop on sleep, Secrets to Sleeping Well. You can access it at any time. It's there for you. It's a great resource to get you started on how to improve your sleep, because without sleep, our quality of life goes down pretty quickly. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know if you have any questions or comments. I can't wait to hear from you. I hope you have a great day.